Hello and welcome back to the Road to Good Cooking. I love getting ready for Christmas. That means Christmas presents all over the place, making pizzas with my grandsons on Christmas Eve, and having a midnight snack with my beagle Sophie. And on Christmas morning, I love making breakfast sausage with my two youngest grandbabies and moving all the furniture out of the living room to make room for two tables so we can all sit around the same table for Christmas night dinner. And speaking of Christmas night dinner, how about adding this to your menu? Reverse seared bone-in pork chops topped with AppleJack Brandy pan sauce and sauteed onions and apples. These pork chops are savory and delicious. Today I will show you how I made my reverse seared pork chops, and I will post the recipe at the end of this video, so sit back and enjoy. Now let's get started. I stopped by my butcher's shop and purchased 4 beautiful 1-inch bone-in pork chops. Now you can use boneless pork chops if you prefer. And in the bottom of my baking pan I added some apple cider and a handful of sliced onions. For this recipe I will be using Chef Polite's Insane steak and chop seasoning and topping my chops with the rest of the sliced onions. I'm going to season my chops on one side, then flip them over and do the same on the opposite side. After I seasoned my chops on both sides, I covered them up completely with the apple cider juice, hit it with some fresh cracked black pepper, and topped it with some fresh thyme. Now I'm going to cover up my pan with plastic wrap and it's going to go into the fridge. I'm going to marinate my chops overnight for maximum flavor. This is the next day and I just took my pork chops out of the marinade. I patted them dry, laid them out on this platter here, and I'm going to let them sit on the counter until they come up to room temperature, maybe 20 or 30 minutes or so. Now let me show you the rest of the ingredients that are going to go into this delicious dish. Here's the first ingredient, Laird's AppleJack. Now I know someone is going to ask me this question, so what's the difference between AppleJack and Apple Brandy? Well, I looked that question up for you, and here's what I found. And it says, both are distilled from apple cider, but Apple Brandy is traditionally distilled and aged while AppleJack is just jacked somehow. I swear that's what it says. In the case of Laird's AppleJack, this means their apple brandy is blended with neutral spirits. Others may use freeze distillation to create theirs, but once the brandy gets jacked, it becomes AppleJack. Laird's is probably the most common brand of AppleJack you'll see, and it runs about $17 a bottle. That's what it says. Now, I've tried apple brandy before, and I prefer the flavor of Laird's AppleJack. To me, it's nice and mellow, it's naturally sweet, and it has a tasty apple flavor. This AppleJack is easy to drink neat, straight with no ice. I like mine with a few ice cubes because I like to chill it just a bit. So now you know. Now, if you're concerned about this recipe and if you have little kidlets, you can substitute the AppleJack brandy for apple juice or apple cider. That doesn't sound like much fun to me, so my thought is, why don't you make some non-alcoholic pork chops for the kiddos and some fully loaded AppleJack brandy pork chops for the adults? Okay, you can thank me on that later. I'm going to use the rest of my onion and slice it up real thin. I'll be using 2 Honeycrisp apples. I love these apples because they're sweet and tart and juicy, and they're great in apple pies. And here's a little taste of AppleJack for the chef in case she gets thirsty. And I'm going to be using roasted garlic as well as the garlic infused olive oil, and here is the entire recipe right here. Now I'm going to put on some Christmas music for you and get you in the mood, and I'm going to start on my prep work. I'm going to hit it with some salt and pepper mix and a pinch of Aleppo pepper flakes. for the chef's drink. Here's where the magic starts, and just add as much as you want. Go ahead, it's Christmas. Layer the apples until you get the whole pan filled up. Add the apples and all that wonderful pan juice. Cook the apples until they're nice and softened. Add some homemade chicken broth. And I added 1 tablespoon of cornstarch just to thicken up my sauce in the bottom. And you ought to smell it. Oh my word, it smells like heaven. Mm-mm-mm. And see, the sauce is starting to thicken up a little bit on the bottom. That's exactly what you want. Now from this point, I covered it up, and then I'm going to start on my pork chops. Look at that. Love in a pot. Moving on to the pork chops, I poured some of my garlic-infused olive oil into a small dish. Then I added 2 cloves of smashed roasted garlic. Now I'm going to slather all of my pork chops on both sides, and this is going to add yet another layer of flavor. I have my oven preheating at 250 degrees, and I'm going to roast my pork chops until the temperature probe reads 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Then I'm going to remove them from the oven and finish cooking them in a screaming hot skillet until they are done to my taste with no pink inside. Now feel free to cook your pork chops to your taste. Me personally, I can't do the medium rare thing when it comes to pork. I'm sorry, I just can't do it. I know I'm going to get my chops busted, pardon the pun, by the pork police for cooking well done pork chops. Oh well. I'm going to hit my pork chops with some salt and pepper mix on both sides. I inserted a temperature probe in the center of one of my pork chops. Now they're ready to go into the oven. My chops are out of the oven. Now they're ready for the pan. Now, I suppose you noticed the mess that I'm making on my stove. What I should have did was dab some of the moisture off the bottom of these pork chops before I put them in this hot pan. Moisture and hot grease just don't mix, so therefore I'm getting splatters and I'm making a mess, making more work for myself, but that's okay. I got a wash rag. It's no big deal. They're not going to sear, but they're pretty much going to steam, but that's okay as long as I get done and I can get a nice little crispy edge around the fat and around the edges. I'm okay with that. I tried to fit that fourth one in there, but it just wasn't working. And you see all that beautiful juice in that baking pan? I'm going to pour that over my apples and just kind of fortify that pork flavor. I want to test the temperature of these, the internal temperature inside, and they went a little bit over, but that's okay too. These are big, thick pork chops, and I want to make sure that mine were well done, so I'm okay with that. Now I'm going to remove them from the pan and put them on a platter. Stand them up on the edge to try to crisp up some of that fat, and then I'm ready to put that fourth one in there, and we're okay with that. And look at them babies. Ooh-wee. Merry Christmas to me. Clean up my mess, do a little housekeeping here. And I guess I better take this pork chop off. I don't want to overcook this one too. So flip it over, stand it up on the edge. Let it get a little cooking on the opposite side, and then I'm going to remove it. I turned the sound down because my sister friend Miss Annie stopped by and we got a little loud in the background, so. Oh, okay. Fourth one done. Take this off of the stove, and you know what time it is. Look at that. Oh. I wish you can smell it. Wish this was scratch and sniff. Anyway, let me get ready for my taste test. Miss Annie's here, so I'm gonna let her have one too. Okay. I forgot to mention I'm gonna let my pork chops rest for about 10 minutes. Okay, this is what I've been waiting for all day. Now, let me get underneath these apples and cut me a piece off of here. Ooh, I can't wait. My mouth is just salivating. Oh, look at that. It's nice and juicy and moist. Put a couple of apples on there. Oh, yeah. You got to get apples and a little bit of onion. If you can believe this, I'm speechless. This is so worth the wait. You got to give this recipe a try. The first thing that hits my tongue is the sweet of the pork chops because they've been marinating in that apple cider all night. So it really does have a nice sweet apple flavor to it. And then you get those spices from Chef John Polite's steak and chop seasoning. Heaven. Takes it over the top with flavor. And as far as the AppleJack in there, you don't really taste the alcohol. You just taste a nice background flavor. Makes you wonder, I wonder what that is. So you don't have to worry about getting drunk by eating these. There's not that much alcohol in there. I'm going to tell you, your family would love this recipe. It will not disappoint. Now, if you like this video, please share it with someone that's having a family Christmas dinner. They will truly, truly enjoy this flavor. And like I told you earlier, you're worried about the kiddos. Just make one with apple cider and apple juice and omit the apple brandy. Simple. It is so, so truly tasty. Now I'd like to say one thing. Thank you for all of my new subscribers and my old subscribers. You guys have truly made my year a blessed year, and I hope that you follow me through 2018. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and leave me a comment if you wish, and share my link with everyone you know in the universe. Thank you so much for stopping by. Please have a very Merry Christmas, and I'll see you in 2018. Now it's time to get busy with my pork chop. Boy, too bad you don't live closer. I share them with you.